We are coming to you from the city beautiful Chicago, Illinois, where tonight WGN Sports on the U presents White Sox baseball. It's Paul Konerko, Adam Dunn, Chris Sale in the Sox. As we get set to butt heads with A.J. Pierzynski, Adrian Beltre, and the first place Texas Rangers. Hi, everybody, and welcome. With Steve Stone, I'm Ken Harrelson as we get set to bring you the first of this three-game set. And we have the return, of course, of A.J. Pierzynski and Alex Rios, and also Neil Kotz. But we're coming off a 6-game winning streak. We had 7 games on that road trip. We lost the first one and ran the table of rest. Last 3 in Minnesota, 3 in Kansas City. It's nice to come on with a 6-game winning streak. It's always nice to win, especially when you're out of it and you can play spoiler. And when you look at why this team has won, it's pretty easy. We'll break it down for you. Viciedo and Garcia have been doing a pretty good job together, and certainly Viciedo with his second Grand Slam home run chipped in that ball game. The starting pitchers with 5 wins, they've been just outstanding one time through the rotation. And Addison Reed has saved the last 6 games in a row. Fortunately, he's had an off day in that stretch. I don't know how much longer he can go, but he's been real good. Well, we got somebody real good on that bump tonight. We had Chris Sale going to the mound, and lately he's gotten paid off for his efforts. This is a guy that struggled winning games early. It wasn't he was pitching poorly, it's that he was pitching very well but getting no runs. He's won his last 3 in a row. He's getting to the point where he can look at 500, maybe beyond realistically, and Chris Sale just has overwhelming stuff. But he's going to face a couple of his former teammates. One of them is A.J. Pierzynski. He's driven in 52. He's hitting 279, and talking with the Rangers people, they say he's getting some big hits for him. Alex Rios going over there, helping him in right field. So far, hasn't exactly picked it up offensively. Still yet to hit his first home run as a Ranger, but he does give him a lot of speed. He gives him a good right fielder, and there you look at the numbers and what they've done for the Rangers. This is a team coming in at 2.5 games in first place, and this is a team that I believe is going to get it done and relegate Oakland to the wild card. All righty, Elvis night, a big crowd on hand here at beautiful U.S. Cellular Field, so sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way. Chicago White Sox baseball is
annual civil rights game tomorrow. And earlier today, the weekend festivities kicked off with a panel discussion about African Americans in the game of baseball. White Sox Executive Vice President Ken Williams joined a number of representatives from MLB on the panel, and the discussion was moderated by former player and current analyst Harold Reynolds. Kenny had some sound advice for the young student athletes who were in the audience.
The civil rights cause was not just a black cause. We had people in our household that of all races coming in that were for equality, that were for civil rights and against prejudices of all sorts. So as I grew, those are the things that shaped me, and those are the things that I impart or try to impart to the young people that I talk to today is do not be exclusionary in your life. Embrace those that need embracing, and try to lead those that need leading. Become a leader. Education is always a key for me. And when Wendy talks, when Frank and I meet, and the commissioner, Jerry Reinsdorf, the thing that warms my heart the most is, yes, we are trying to get more African Americans back on the playing field, but more importantly, we're also developing programs that build their character and show them that there are opportunities outside, off the playing field, that they should be vigorously pursuing as well.
It's amazing. Wow. Some wonderful words from Kenny Williams, and it should be just a great weekend here in Chicago. So stay with us, because we'll be back with the play-by-play and all the action after these messages. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. It's Elvis night, and they're flying in from everywhere. Tonight's game's available in Spanish on your SAP audio setting, provided by 97.5 FM, ESPN Deportes, Chicago's first and only FM Spanish-language sports radio station. For the game, Jose Quintana deciding that he was going to don the glasses. Minus, of course, the sideburns and probably the voice. So let's take a look at how the Rangers are going to line up tonight. Martin leading it off with Anderson, Kinsler, Beltre, Pierzynski, and Rios in the middle. Then Baker, Gentry, and Rosales, the DH, rounded out. White Sox defense brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. It's Viciedo, Diaza, and Garcia in the outfield, with Keppinger, Ramirez, Beckham, and Konerko in the infield. Josh Fegley gets a nod behind the plate. And Chris Sale on the hill, looking for win number 10. This is 24th start of the year. The ERA is splendid, 2.78. But the walk to strikeout ratio, something special. 36 walks, 170 fan. Jerry Lane, the umpire. Hunter Wendelstedt is at first. Alan Porter at second, and Greg Gibson is at third. So, we're ready to play baseball, and I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
Hi, Stoney. Thank you very much. And once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to White Sox Baseball right here over WGN Sports on the U. So happy you could join us for the first of this 3-game set. And the first of the 6-game homestand. 3 with these guys, 3 with Houston. The first pitch of the ball game is taken for a strike by Leonis Martin, 25-year-old center fielder. Texas comes in at 21 games over, 74 and 53. As that pitch is yanked foul, and very quickly the count 0-2. Rangers hitting it .262 as a ball club with a very fine 3.64 team ERA. He gone. Martin is out of there on a good curveball.
I don't know how many he's seen like that, but there are very few that can get you ready for this. Look at the break. Right on the corner. Perfect pitch. 1 up, 1 strikeout.
So here's Elvis. That's apropos on Elvis night. Elvis Andrus hitting at .255. A homer. He's driven in 45. He has faced Chris 11 times, and he's drawn the collar. There's first pitch strike, and here at the ballpark, 330 down the left field line, 335 down the right field line, 375 in the gaps, and 400 straightaway center. As very quickly the count 0-2.
I remember in spring training when I was talking about the Angels, you picked Texas from the beginning. What was it about this team that gave you the idea that they were going to be where they are now?
Well, he gone. 2 down. I just don't think they realized what they were getting energy-wise and performance-wise with AJ. I thought that was going to really help.
He's been a good player for him.
Oh, you better believe it.
Been a good player.
And if he wants to, he can go another few years. He keeps himself in just great shape.
Ron Washington very happy with his guys. Now they've gotten close, but they haven't won the big prize, and that's what they are dedicated for this year, and they made a lot of additions to this team. And there you can see it. Oakland has fallen to 2.5 games back, 2 back in the loss column. Seattle, not really much of a factor.
Well, we talked about teams that were underperforming. Ours certainly right there. But nobody saw us playing like we had played. Nobody saw the Angels playing like they were going to play.
No, their pitching really fell apart, and Pujols out for the year, and he was hobbled even when he was in.
Right.
Josh Hamilton didn't turn out the way they thought he would, and the Angels, well, just a very, very bad year.
That pitch just off the plate. Texas 6 games out on July 29th. Breaking ball strike. Kinsler 3 for 10 lifetime off Chris. And this is the 4th meeting of the year between these two clubs. In the first 3, our Sox have won 2 of them. Short hop. Nice inning. Couple strikeouts. Easy ground ball. After half inning of play, it's the Rangers nothing, and the good guys coming to bat.
course. And let's take a look at how the White Sox are going to line them up. Brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Robbins got him with Diaz, Beckham, and Ramirez at the top. Canerco, Dunn, and Garcia in the middle. Avisaío with a 9-game hitting streak. Keppinger. And there's the defense. Gentry, Martin, and Rios in the outfield. Beltre, Andrus, Kinsler, and Baker in the infield. Pierzynski behind the plate. And Martin Perez on the hill. A very talented youngster with a good straight change. Just starting to come of age and just starting to realize the promise that they thought he was going to have.
And that ovation you heard was for A.J. Pierzynski. And the fans remember him for his great years here. He came aboard in 05, and the first thing we did was win a world championship. And he was a huge part of it. You'll never forget that. And before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours. And what's this guy going to feature, Steve?
He's not going to be, well, the fastball is pretty good, actually. He can top out at 94, but he pitches comfortably 91, 92. The straight change is his best pitch, which usually means he's tougher on the right-handers than the lefties, and he has a slurve. You can't really call it a curve or a slider because sometimes it breaks bigger than others. Not quite as sharp or as effective as Chris Sale, but in the same neighborhood as Sale.
Alejandro hitting at 267, 14 homers, 52 knocked in. Starts it off with a bullet. So good speed aboard. He's 16 for 22. And that'll bring it back on. It's a little unusual for a guy 22 years old to have his best pitch, a guy who can touch 92, 93 occasionally, have his best pitch a changeup.
Well, what they're saying about him, Hawk, is that at his stage, he reminds a whole lot of people of Johan Santana. Now, the changeup isn't quite there yet, but they think because he is just 22, it's only going to get better.
AJ told me it was outstanding.
And everybody that has seen him says a couple of different things. Number one, he's always been the youngest pitcher in every league he's played in, so he never had those kind of results. And everybody that came to Texas to make a deal wanted Martin Perez. That was the guy they went after, and Texas said nothing doing.
That's outside in the count, 2-0. Gordon hitting at 297, 4 homers. He's driven in 18. A little tardy on that one. That one, our gun says 95.
Got a big arm. I think we might be a mile or two over, but
yeah,
they told me that, you know, don't think this guy's a soft tosser because his arm is strong.
That ball lined right at him. That's a hang Wolfham. Yet another hang Wolfham for Gordon Beckham. So with 1 on, 1 out, let's check out our picks to click tonight. DiMangio, our directing the crew. Well, they went with Keppinger. Steve is going with Canerco, and my good buddy John Guido from Arlington Heights Ford. We're going to go with Alejandro Diaza, who's on first base. So here's Alexei. Yeah, as a rule, when you get a 22-year-old hard-throwing left-hander coming into the big leagues, the changeup is usually a work in progress. But you know, you mentioned Santana, and we just couldn't beat him. And yet, just illustrate what a great changeup can do is the power changeup, as we talked about last night. We knew every pitch he was throwing, and we still couldn't beat it.
And if you know the history of Santana, you'll realize he probably was the best Rule 5 pick ever, which means that that changeup couldn't have been there because the team that had him originally would have never exposed him to the Rule 5 draft. And Minnesota just said, okay, well, this guy's got a chance. We'll take him, got a good arm. I think maybe even they were surprised how good that changeup became.
The 0-1, nope. Over to first. Outfield, for the most part, straight up. Bit of a gap out there in right center. Alexei hitting at 289. Sox hitting at 250 as a club with a 3.81 ERA.
One thing about Leonis Martin in center field that I'm sure our base runners have been told about, he's got one of the great arms in the major leagues.
There's a little flipper. That's trouble. A whole bunch of trouble. So Diaza now did not know where everybody was. He'll have to pull up at second base.
Very bad base running play by Alejandro Diaza. All he had to do before the pitch was take a look at Alex Rios and where he was in right field. If he knew where Kinsler was, he would realize there was nobody that had any chance for this one. Inside out swing.
So another gift.
Yeah, look how far Kinsler has to run. Diaza could have made it to third probably without a throw. This is just, well, 90 feet that the team doesn't get, and Joe McEwing is frantically waving his left arm.
He's done that quite a bit on guys who
yes, he has.
Did not know where the outfielders were. I think he's tired of it.
Well, particularly damaging if Paul hits a fly ball with a Texas team that has some thunder in that offense.
Paulie takes ball one. Paulie hitting at 241, 9 homers, 42 driven in.
Beltre is way back at third base and over toward the line, anticipating Paul is going to pull the ball.
Stopped by AJ. No, with Rios out there, you're going to give up some offense because of loss of Nelson Cruz, but with Rios out there, you can pick up in defense. And this is a good defensive Texas team. There's a shot caught. There's a hang with him. 2 down.
Well, he set up perfectly. We told you Beltre was over toward the line. They anticipated Paul being able to pull. He was able to do just that. But Beltre right there. You see how close he is. Very good chance this would have been a foul ball. That being said, it's an out anyway.
So here's Adam. Adam hitting at 237, 28 long ones, and 74 knocked in. Takes first pitch strike. Two on, 2 out, 1-1 to count.
Come on, give him the big ball, baby.
That one at 96. No, this guy is no soft tosser.
A nice arm, nice change. The breaking ball will get a whole lot better. And the Rangers see him as a top of the rotation type pitcher. Now, not necessarily a number 1, but they've got Hugh Darvish for that. And if Harrison comes back healthy, they have him, but you can understand why they didn't want to move this guy.
Well, he's got 9 decisions and 12 starts. That's pretty good.
Not bad, and he's got a terrific pitching coach in Mike Maddox. Now, being a youngster, he's 6 feet tall. That might be stretching it some. He only weighs 165 pounds, so you figure he's going to get a little bigger and stronger.
And that'll do it. We get a couple of hits. Can't do anything with it. Hit the ball hard, though. And after 1, no score. Off, you'll be followed by Pierzynski. No score, top of the second. Beltre, one of the most fun players in baseball to watch. Comes in hitting at 327, 26 homers, 78 knocked in. Change up. There's a strike.
Well, he's always had the zest for the life of the game, even when he wasn't near as good as he is these days. I mean, being this good, you can have a lot of fun in this game, but he's been like this as long as I can remember.
The only downtime he had a little bit was in Seattle.
At the time, before they moved the fences in, tough park to hit.
Yeah. 3-1 to count.
And the one thing about Beltre that has been the case just about wherever he's gone, nobody is more respected in their clubhouse than he is.
Cues that one foul, so a full count to the 34-year-old veteran who plays like he's 24. Outfield fairly deep, as they should be. Straight up. Pretty good pitch, did not get it. So the leadoff walk. And here comes AJ. And most of the fans, or a lot of them, come to their feet.
Certainly a sign of respect for what he meant to the ball club over the 8 years he was here, especially the 2005 season.
AJ hitting at 279, 14 homers and 52 driven in as he takes first pitch, fastball strike. He's had a lot of big hits for this ball club this year. Gordon thought he was going to put it on him. Now give it to him. Yes. Good pitch. Ate him up.
That fastball got right in on his hands, and the deflection goes right to Gordon. He makes a good play, forcing Beltre to back up, and then getting the out at first. So a double play, certainly helping out Chris Sale.
And here is Rios, Alex, at 276, 12 homers, 58 knocked in. That's out of play right side. Alex, since joining Texas, hitting at 276. Oh, check that, 273. No homers yet, 3 RBIs, and he's 4 for 4 in stolen bases. There's a bullet. So good speed aboard. 30 stolen bases and 36 attempts. And you can cancel a post-game show. That'll bring up Jeff Baker, hitting at 292, 9 homers, but only 17 driven in.
He's been a fairly solid hitter for him.
He hit a long one down in Texas against Chris. That ball hit hard and deep into center field. And it's 2-0 Rangers.
First ball fastball, it was belt high on the outer third, and Baker just unloads.
Well, against left-handers, especially when you have stuff like Chris Sale, you better try to beat him to right field.
Hit that ball exactly where it was pitched, and the offense has some coming back to do.
So here's Greg Gentry. He takes first pitch strike. There's a pretty good fastball. That had a little pinky on it right there.
Yeah, I think he was pretty unhappy with the location of that fastball to Baker, because Chris gets up for most games, but especially what he views as big games. And anytime you're facing a first-place team as good as the Texas Rangers, it's a big game. They've won 3 games in a row.
That hit him. So here's Adam Rosales, Chicagoan. He's 4 for 7 lifetime off Chris with a homer. And besides winning 3 in a row, they have won 8 straight road games.
This team doesn't have many deficiencies. They can hit. They certainly have pretty big speed. Normally, the pitching staff is very good.
One 1-0 to Rosales. Gap out there in left center. And the count evens at 1. First of 3, if you're just tuning in. Tomorrow night, civil rights game. Make your plans to be with us right here at the ballpark. Hector Santiago against Yu Darvish. 27-year-old right-hander with 7 pitches and can get them all over. There he goes. And that ball hit deep into left center field. And it's 4-0. Rosales now 5 for 8 with 2 homers off Chris.
Rosales has one of the fastest home run trots in baseball. Oakland let him go. Hawk and I at the time when we were in Oakland talked about how versatile he was and how many positions he could play, and the fact that for a contending team he'd be a valuable man. Well, Oakland couldn't find a place for him, but the Rangers did, and he took a high fastball, hit it out of the ballpark. And just like that, it's a big Texas lead.
So here's Leonis Martin. Breaking ball way out. Called out on a wicked curveball to lead off the ball game. Nice crowd on him. Elvis night here at the ballpark.
And a beautiful night.
Yeah, it is.
71 degrees.
Not a cloud in the sky. Beautiful night in the city. Beautiful. 2 out, 1 and 2 to count. The 2 2-run homers here in the top of the second. And we got some work to do. He gone. After an inning and a half, 4-0. Bad guys.
.com and click on the Game Zone banner for updated stats and information. The Game Zone is powered by St. Xavier University. Success with purpose. Log on to sxu.edu to check out undergrad and graduate degree options. Well, the young man certainly enjoys Elvis night, but ice cream being what it is, he enjoys that a little bit more.
So here's Evisael Garcia. Takes first pitch strike. Hitting at 269, a couple of homers, 15 knocked in. I got a couple of texts, more than a few texts today. As there's a shot base hit back through the middle. And they asked me last night when I called him El Duende, what does that mean? Well, that is a perception. El Duende. That's the power to attract through personal magnetism and ability and charm.
And he's got that.
He's got it. Also, attractiveness, captivation, charisma.
And big speed.
And it's actually it's from Spanish dialect. El Duende. Not too many players come into the big leagues with El Duende.
No, and it helps when you have 5 tools to go with the Duende.
Right. Clevenger hits it. Stay fair. Stay fair. It will. So now, ground rule double, so Garcia will have to go back, and that, at this point, is going to cost us a run. But the ground rule double, ducks on the pond, nobody out.
Gentry goes over. He's got good speed. This is a cutter inside, but he doesn't get it in. And Keppinger takes a look to see if it's going to stay fair. Fortunately, it will. See it right there on the right side of the line. Greg Gibson on the call. So a very promising start to the second.
And here's Tank hitting at 248, 11 long ones, and 42 RBIs. Takes ball 1. That ball hit off the glove. That's going to score a pair. Ball took a hop up over Baker's glove. And it's a 4-2 ball game. Yes.
I am sure Bob Rosenberg is going to give him a base hit. RBIs 43 and 44. So no sooner do the Rangers score 4 than our offense, which was pretty solid through the 6-game winning streak, comes right back. This one's slicing away from Baker, who's not going to be the best defender at first base. And it cuts the lead in half.
Well, we talked about it in Kansas City. We talked about it in Minnesota. I just love the thought of having the 2 biggest arms in baseball, one of them in right field, one of them in left field. And as a pitcher, Steve, you just love to have arms like that to keep people going first to third.
Well, if you can do that and keep people going to second base, I mean stopping doubles, turning them into singles, then the double play stays in order. And the boys on the corners can certainly do that.
Yeah, young pitching like we have, the oldest one being 28, Johnny Danks. Santiago 25, Sale 24, Quintana 24. Rienzo's 25. So when you get guys going from first to third when they shouldn't be, that just tears young pitching up. Veterans can handle it, but they don't like it. But young pitchers, it just tears them up.
Well, a huge difference if you know you can't afford to throw a fly ball. There's a big difference. And there's not going to be a whole lot of people taking liberties on this outfield.
Watch out. Josh hitting at 205, 3 homers. He's driven in 14. So we have hit the ball hard. Off Martin Perez. Chases a bad one. A good pitcher's pitch right there off the plate. And he could not hold up. So 2-2. And it's full. Just tuning in, 4 runs on 3 hits. No errors for them. A couple of 2-run homers. Top half of this inning. And for us, 2 runs, 5 hits, no errors. A single, a double, and a 2-run single by Viciedo.
Even Southpaw getting in the action tonight with the cape. That's looks like a balk.
Yes,
absolutely a balk. I don't know exactly why he stopped, but he did. Now, if AJ called for time, it wasn't acknowledged. And Viciedo winds up at second. Second balk of the year.
You don't see that kind of a balk very often.
No.
And that's in the right field, and it's going to hang up for Rios, who makes a really good catch. And that's a hang woofing for Fegley. Man, what a play by Rios.
Not only a good catch, but good base running on the part of Viciedo. Because it's pretty easy to take off thinking this ball's going to fall. Alex Rios comes on. He's very familiar with the right field here. Takes it right off the grass. And Viciedo, not taking anything for granted, gets back to the bag and doesn't get doubled out of scoring position.
Pitching coach Mike Maddox. Hey, he's trying to get some positive because our guys are just teeing off on him. Well, as we talked earlier, there's a good chance Nelson Cruz would not have made that play.
No, I don't think he'd gotten close to it, as a matter of fact.
No.
But they made a terrific addition getting Alex Rios. I know he hasn't hit like they thought he was going to, or hit like he probably will. But he certainly helps them 2 different ways. You can never have too much speed, we know that. And you can never have too much defense, we know that. So I think they're viewing the fact, because they have some thunder in their lineup, that whatever Alex gives them offensively is a big plus.
Well, Alex started off that 4-run second, top of this inning, with a solid base hit. Want to know the count to Diaza, who singled hard into center field, leading off last inning. One and one to count. Grabs a strike with that one. Pick him up. Stay on top of him. Come on, Alejandro. So 2 down. And Major League Baseball's Civil Rights Game and Beacon's Award Luncheon are tomorrow, August 24th. The Beacon Awards Luncheon will feature special tributes to Motown legend Aretha Franklin and Bo Jackson, as well as keynote speaker Michael Wilbon and a performance by recording artist Sharice. So Civil Rights Game festivities will continue at the ballpark when the Sox face these Rangers tomorrow night at 6:10. So to purchase tickets to the luncheon and game, visit MLB.com/Civil Rights Game. Beckham lined out hard to left field his first trip.
Be a big run to pick up here and cut the lead to 1. But if Gordon does get a base hit to center, it's going to be an interesting confrontation between Viciedo and the arm of Martin. Taking you places that you might not have seen at the ballpark before. Our wireless camera on just an absolutely gorgeous night. And this was from the fundamentals deck high in left field.
So the Golden Greek, Jimmy Tianis, is going to get his workout tonight. He's the one getting all those great shots for you. There he is. Look at the smile on that Greek. Two out and a 1-2 pitch. And there's a little flare in the center field, and it's going to fall. Here's a throw. Gets away. So Beckham now will go into second. And it's a 4-3 ball game.
I'm not exactly sure what Martin was doing in front of A.J. on that, but it wasn't the spot to be. First of all, it would have been close at the plate. That's number one. Number two, a pitcher is taught to back up the catcher, not stand in front of him, especially 25 feet away. So Gordon, 19 driven in. It goes as E8. This is actually mental error on the pitcher. Hits him in the leg. I just have a hard time understanding how you can give E8 when the pitcher's not supposed to be there and then misses the throw. That's going to be one hop right at A.J. and right in his glove if Martin is not there. But that being said, it's a one-run game and a big hit for Gordon.
And we're still hitting. Don't stop now, boys, as here's Alexei. He had a little flare into right field for a single, little duck snort. Had him off balance with that one. Martin, a little shallow out there in center. And that's going to be a souvenir right on top of their dugout.
There is the paw with the Elvis garb.
Once again, the 1-2 pitch. Kaneko on deck if Alexei can reach.
Lately, Ramirez has been just about as hot as anybody around.
And he's got a full count.
Really coincides with him moving from the 2 spot to the 3 spot in the batting order. He's driving in more runs. He's getting more big hits. He seems comfortable.
He says he loves it.
Yeah, as a number 3 hitter, maybe it's a challenge that he really needed.
And he walks in. Got ahead of him. And that'll bring up Paulie, who last inning just hit a rocket. I mean, a bullet down the Beltray.
AJ goes out there to try to settle down Martin, who's run into a bit of a buzzsaw here in the second.
Well, he's thrown 41 pitches here in an inning and 2/3.
He was afforded a very big lead by his offense, and he gave it right back, or most of it.
So here's Paulie. Three in, 2 on, 2 out. Takes first pitch strike. Nice gap out there in right center. There it is. And a little bit one out there in left center. Chops that one over into our dugout. So the count very quickly, the big hole, 0-2.
Texas is by far the best road team in the American League. They're 10 over 500 on the road. Nobody else is even close. Next to them, Boston Red Sox, 4 games over 500. So it is difficult to win on the road, and the Rangers have been able to do just that.
Yeah, well, we're 24 and 42 on the road.
It seems worse than that somehow. But this last road trip narrowed the gap a bit.
Yeah, it did. Well, just everything is in this game is contagious. When you don't score, that's contagious. When you do score, that becomes contagious. And that's where we're at right now. Winning those last 3 in Minnesota after losing the first of that 4-game set and then sweeping the Kansas City Royals. Well, you and I saw it the first game in. The Royals were flat.
No, and Dayton Moore, their general manager, admitted exactly that. The air went out of the balloon, losing the last 3 to Detroit in a huge series after sweeping the doubleheader to start the series. They had a chance to make up big ground. They didn't do it.
2-2.
And so especially with a young baseball team, we talked about the fact that they don't have a group assembled who have won any place in the major leagues. And when you get to this point where every game, every situation, offensively, defensively, every pitch is of critical importance, experience is everything, and they don't have a whole lot of winning experience.
Got him. At the bottom of the zone, but we put a crooked number up there. We'll go to the third, trailing 4-3. Cast fundamentals day. Left field. Kids can have a good time out there, run the bases, get some swings, and get some instruction. But right here, Elvis Andrus will lead it off. He struck out his first trip. 1-1 ball game. They lead it 4-3. 2 2-run homers last inning. Tried to come back, just didn't quite get there. 2-1. There's a chopper to Hopper and 1 out. And our Sox and Athletico Physical Therapy both understand the importance of injury prevention in players and fans' daily activities. So visit Athletico.com/blog for injury prevention tips. Athletico Physical Therapy, the official physical therapy provider of our White Sox. Athletico, better for everybody.
Good looking nachos at the ballpark. Great food here at the park, and the fans certainly taking advantage of it. Hard to believe there's too many better nights to come out for baseball than tonight.
Kinsler off the end of the bat, but still hits it pretty hard. He will pick up his 24th. Now he's on his way to third as he can't get the ball. Now he's going to score.
Well, I got to believe what Viciato should have done was put his hands over his head because the ball got trapped under the pad. But when he played the ball, it becomes a live ball. If he just puts his hands over his head and motions for the umpire to call it dead, he would have. But I think Greg Gibson is going to tell Robin Ventura, as soon as he started to try to get the ball out of there, the ball stays in play.
Well, he did give him that look. Yeah, he's got to walk away from that one.
Got to walk away, put your hands over your head, clasping one hand in the other, and now
he's got. There should be some common sense ruling, though.
I would think so, seeing as the ball was trapped under the pad. No doubt about that. The problem was that Viciato couldn't locate it at first. He was actually 2 feet in front of the ball. And, well, let's see if Robin wins this one.
No. He's not going to win it. If he was, he'd have won it by now.
Yeah, I think Greg is explaining. He lifts his hands over his head and walks away. We give it to him.
That is not. Yeah, that is not. I mean, there's got to be a common sense ruling on something like that.
And
now it's gone.
Robin gets a heave-ho. That's the 3rd home run given up by Sale. This of a most unusual variety.
Well, there's no question Robin has the point. There's no question about that. But if it's not in the ground rules, even though the point doesn't win, and as an outfielder, Viciato doesn't know the rules. Okay?
No, and if he did, he would have done
Just
what we talked about.
Walk away from
it. Now, right here, he loses track of where the baseball is. But then he goes searching for it and grabbing for it. And that's, in the opinion of Greg Gibson, keeping it a live ball. Now Robin's going to get his money's worth with Jerry Lane.
Well, right there, in my opinion, Greg Gibson should have right there called time when they made eye contact. He should have called time right there. And made it a ground rule double because that's what the ground rules say. That's not a good call at all. And it'll be ruled as an inside the park home run. So it's a 5-3 ball game.
We continue to see some very strange things this year. Very strange things.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, that's one reason that next year we're going to have the instant replay. That ball, and if we had the instant replay on that ball right there, Kinsler would have been staying in second base.
Very possible.
So here's AJ. So Bell's right now 0 for 1. He walked, leading off last inning. AJ hit into that 4-3 double play. And the breaking ball, no chance, 0-2. Well, this is a good umpiring crew. I was glad to see this crew when we saw it on our scorecards, but that's just not a good call. You can't protest on the judgment call.
No, you cannot.
2 out to 1-2. AJ with one of his patented emergency swings. You got a variety of those.
Well, Tom Grieve, longtime broadcaster, former general manager of these Texas Rangers, said he's never seen a player who in 1 year has gotten jammed more than AJ. He said he hits the ball off his thumbs so many times. That's amazing. And then, of course, comes up the first time and hits one right off his thumbs into the double play. In the meantime, AJ stands close enough to the plate to try to take away the outside corner. And there's a look at Tom Grieve.
And his partner, Steve Busby.
He's the analyst, and Steve Busby, former terrific Major League
He
pitcher.
had some of the best right-handed stuff in the last 25 years.
And one of the greatest moves to first base also.
Well, one thing about it, it's a great Al Kaline, Hall of Famer for the Tigers, always said, good hitters get jammed. Of course, AJ, of course, can take anything to the extreme. He gone, but a very, very tough ruling for Chris Sale on an inside the park home run by Kinsler, and he trails it 5-3. Sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, a local nationwide insurance agent serving the area for over 34 years. To join the nation, visit jeffvuk.com because Nationwide is on your side. Well, the more I think about it, the hotter I'm getting. I mean, baseball's too good a game to have something like that. So especially since they made eye contact, something like that happened. I mean, it's just. Anyway, here's Adam Dunn. Chris Sale is the recipient of a bad call. And on the other side of the page, it's in the rule books. And Greg Gibson went by the ground rules, I should say.
I would think they discussed that before the game. I mean, you go over at home plate, all of the rules. And in fact, Mark Parent then came out to get a clarification from Jerry Lane. And each individual park has something along those lines depending on the configuration of foul territory and the outfield.
Little off-speed pitch out in front. Well, it's not unlike golf. Local rules supersede USGA rules.
Well, here's a for instance on the other side of town. If a ball goes in the ivy, whether you can see the ball or not, if it's in the ivy and you reach in to play it, it's a live ball. If you put your hands up and walk away, it's two bases.
Right.
This
it cost us a game over there with Mags Ordonez.
Yeah, this is a very. I assume it's a very similar situation. We'll have to check.
Here's Garcia. He started off that 3-run second with a base hit. Then he came around to score. A bullet right back through the middle. 1-1 to count. They ought to call that the Orlando rule. Where Mickey Mouse is. Watch out. Tigers leading the Mets 6-1 in that game. Cabrera has homered. What new? 41. He has 3 RBIs, giving him 126. Ate him up right there. Beltre underneath is just about as good as any third baseman you'll ever see.
It took a perfect play to get Avisail because of his speed. And even though he gets turned around in the batter's box, which probably cost him a step, just a terrific play by Beltre, choosing his own hop, the off-balance throw, and he gets plenty on it and gets it there a step ahead of time.
Here's Keppinger. And a ground rule double in the second inning, right down the left field line. Andrus. And a 1-2-3 inning. We have completed 3 and we trail it 5-3. 5 runs, 4 hits, 1 error for them. 3 runs, 6 hits, no errors for us here in the top of the 4th inning. Here's Rios. He started off that 4-run second with a solid rocket single into right field.
We're going to show you in a bit a play from 1998 at Wrigley Field involving our Sox and the reaction at the time of Jose Hernandez and Sammy Sosa to a ball that got stuck in the ivy.
Off the end of the bat, and that's going to fall. So a little duck snort and good speed aboard.
Game tied at 5. Maglio Ordonez comes up, ball in the ivy. And they both throw up their hands and don't attempt to play the baseball.
Will Cordero was the base runner.
He's sent back to third. Sox don't score. Wound up losing in extras.
Yep, he's going to score easy on that play, but they did the right thing. It's incumbent upon the home team to know their local rules.
Yes, it is.
Just a decent lead by Alex. As Baker can't get the breaking ball. He hit that long home run into the seats in deep right center field. He now has 10 homers, 19 driven in, and he is 2 for 4 off Sale with 2 home runs.
Alex started to take off, reading first move, then realized that he couldn't get the kind of jump he wanted, went back to the bag.
Other action, Kansas City leading Washington 6-1. Top of the 4th at Kauffman Stadium. There he goes. So there is out number 1 with Rios in the second.
If you need some social media, we got the lounge. You can charge your phones. You can go and update your status on Facebook. You could reblog your Tumblr content, whatever that means, and generally have a very good time.
And go to Pinterest.
You can do that too.
So here is Gentry. He was hit by a pitch and he came around to score. And there's a base hit into right field. They're going to hold the runner immediately. So 1 out runners at the corners. That'll bring up Rosales. After Gentry was hit by a pitch, he hit a high fastball into the left field bleachers. So he is now 5 for 8 lifetime against Chris with 2 homers. You mentioned earlier he's got the fastest home run trot or home run around the bases anybody in the American League, maybe baseball. He's faster than the guy who had it before was Frank Howard, big Hondo. He'd get around him, but Rosales is quicker.
He's pretty quick.
Yeah. And going back in that time zone, when you had guys like Drysdale or you had guys like Bob Gibson out there.
Yeah, you wanted to get around pretty quick.
You wanted to get in that dugout as quick as you could.
Yeah.
That ball into left field. That's going to be good enough to get Rios home. And it's a 6-3 ball game.
Rosales came in with 9 runs batted in all year. Finds himself with 3 tonight.
And here's the leadoff hitter, the center fielder, Leonis Martin, who has been to the plate twice and struck out twice. And he does have a very powerful arm from center field, as we talked about the other day. We're starting to see more and more guys with good arms in the outfield.
There for a while.
Oh, for 20 years.
They all went away.
For 20 years.
All the real good arms went away.
Beckham gets him. But the leadoff single by Rios. He comes around to score. We go to the bottom of the 4th, trailing 6-3.
Games was a first in White Sox franchise history. Reed allowed only 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, and struck out 6, becoming the first player to accomplish the feat since the Dodgers' Eric Gagne in 2003. That's brought to you by Xfinity Home. Get peace of mind with Xfinity Home. Total home security and home control solution that keeps you more connected to what matters most.
All right, boys, let's get back on the ball here and put some points on the board. Viciedo had a 2-run single back in the 2nd inning, picking up RBIs 43 and 44. 6-6-1 for them, 3-6-0 for us. Chopper up the middle with that top spin on his bat. It gets through for the base hit. So a good way to start. That'll bring up Fegley. Fegley was robbed of a base hit on a beautiful catch by Rios. That was in the 2nd inning. Josh hit some line shots in Kansas City and came up empty as well.
Both Chris Getz and Josh Fegley in that entire series hit the ball as well as anybody on either team, and neither had anything to show for it.
Chris was hanging out line drives all over the ballpark.
Now, I don't know
back to the dugout.
I don't know how that feels, but it has to get frustrating after a while when you're hitting the ball real well, you're seeing it real well, and you keep seeing 0 for 4, 0 for 3, 0 for 4.
I would imagine.
You didn't have that, huh?
No. There's a strike, and let's take another look at this beautiful catch by Rios. So he is 2 for 2 with 2 runs scored and that catch. The 0-2 pitch. And there's another bullet. This one finds the hole left side, so the first 2 men aboard.
Now it's still fairly early in the ball game. We're talking about bottom of the 4th inning. The rest of the stuff not overwhelming at this point. And so I assume that Mark Parent is running the ball club, and we'll see if he decides that Diaz should be in line for his 6th sacrifice of the year. You would think so. But if you do bunt it with a left-hander on the mound, you want to make sure you push it to Beltre.
He is 1 for 2, a single in the first and a strikeout in the second. Got him on a couple of sliders, slurs. Not a good effort at all. Foul tipped.
Well, if you're going to bunt. You're not going to surprise anybody. You got him in at the corners. If you're going to bunt, square around, lay the bunt down instead of whatever that was.
That's the perfect description right there. Man. And that ball in the dirt, so both runners will advance.
Wild pitch number 6 for Perez. So now you don't have to worry about laying one down. Steers that one right into the ground. Hops right over the glove.
Well, not today, but in the past, there have been some managers that you would see 2 squeeze bunts.
Been a few of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Beltre will hold him. 1 out. But not in today's culture. So as Beckham walks to the plate, a reminder, Sox fans, join us on Saturday, September 14th at 6:10 for halfway to St. Patty's Day and post-game fireworks presented by Miller Lite. Also, the first 20,000 adults age 21 and over will receive a green White Sox cap. So purchase 6 today by visiting whitesox.com/SPD.
Big crowd tonight, and everybody just having a great time at the ballpark.
Yeah, that situation right there. You're trailing 6-3. You got men on second, third, nobody out. You get the top of the order hitting. You take a guy like Alvin Dark or a guy like Gene Mock. You see 2 sacrifice, like 2 squeeze bunts.
Or modern day, Mike Scioscia does it a lot. And he's got some guys, or had some guys in years past who could do it.
Had was the right word. They're going to go to third and get him. So,
well, apparently that's now, as they say, de rigueur, which is par for the course. When a ball is hit in front of you, and I have no idea why it continues to happen, it does, and it takes man out of scoring position. Gordon gets a run batted in. That's his 20th, and that ball in front of you, you just can't run.
well, they worked on it in spring training this year. They worked on it in spring training last year. Base burning 101. Last year, it was pretty good. It wasn't real good, but it was pretty good. This year has been horrendous.
Wow. Yeah, indeed.
And you can bet that next spring, these guys will have a lot of time spent on the base paths. A lot of time. Robin will not stand for this. And you might be sitting at home and say, well, why hadn't he done it before? He's been talking to them all year. He and his coaching staff have been talking to them all year. And it just, I mean, it's like goes in one end after the other. He's got the pinky. Robin's got the pinky. I don't blame him. I mean, this has been embarrassing. There was a good example, too. Robin had no speed, and yet he was a good base runner.
There's been a few of those guys around that understood exactly what to do, what not to do, who you could run on. As the outfielders moved, who you can take the extra base on. You don't have to have great speed to be a terrific base runner. It helps, but there's some very good base runners that aren't speed burners.
Well, one of the definitions of a good base runner is don't make dumb mistakes. Alexei, 1-1 to count. That ball hit hard right at him. Another hang wolf him. But we do pick up one. Could have been more, wasn't. And we trail at 6-4. Top of the 5th inning in a 6-4 Ranger lead. Chris Sale. Andrus, one hopper. One pitch, one out. Andrus now is struck out, grounded to short, and grounded to third. And a reminder, organize a group outing of 20 or more for a Sox game during the season and receive savings off the individual game ticket price. You can enhance your outing by upgrading to our new Miller Lite bullpen party porch, pregame patio party, Diamond Suite, or one of our other great party areas. So 312-674-1000 or whitesox.com to book your outing. That's Bertucci boys, Bobby, Bruno, and Handsome Anthony. First pitch strike to Kinsler. First time up, he grounded out to third to end the first inning. And then in the third inning, here's what he did.
Right down the line. Macedo goes over. Can't locate it. Turns into an inside the park home run. And Robin got tossed on the ensuing argument.
You know, I think the main gist of the thing was, where's the common sense in this thing? I don't blame Robin for getting tossed. There's just something wrong with that. I mean, it's inherently wrong because of the way the game is structured. To have something like that not get called a ground rule double. But he gone. Yeah, you know, and my point being in that last statement, Stoney, is the fact that it shouldn't have to be that on a play like that an outfielder has to throw up his arms and walk away. It shouldn't have to be that way. It should be automatically called once that ball goes underneath.
Well, that certainly has to do with the ground rules they went over at the plate before the game.
Yep.
And at the plate before the game, every game here, because the park really hasn't changed.
You know, that's right. Well, I've been here for every game almost since we opened this thing up. And I tell you, I'm a son of a gun in '91, and that's the first time that's ever happened. It's not the first time the balls got stuck in that thing, but it's the first time that they didn't call a ground rule double. And I was trying to think earlier if the other times that if anybody threw up their arms, and I can't remember. It's wow. Beltre, that is number 27. And Chris Sale looks in to Fegley and says, give me another one.
RBI 79, the fourth given up tonight by Chris Sale. So he came in giving up 14 home runs in 165 innings all year, and he's given up 4 home runs in less than 5 innings tonight. And these, when you throw them, there's nothing you can do except look up and say, well, he hit that one a long way.
AJ takes first pitch strike. He has walked. Check that. He's hit into a double play and struck out. Beltre had walked his first at bat. And the count 0-2. AJ just patented.
Well, he took that one right out of Josh Fegley's glove.
Emergency swing. That's a fair ball. Clevenger on the move. And they get him, but the long home run by Beltre. We're halfway home. We need 3 to tie. Great clips out there. Getting after it. Everybody having a great time here at the ballpark tonight. They're going to have a great time tomorrow night. Civil rights games. So make your plans to be with us. That's the 6:10 start. And in that game, Hector Santiago against Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish. Paulie takes ball one. Darvish, 12-5 with a 2.68 ERA.
Yu Darvish has absolutely been overwhelming, and everything is built. I remember hearing about him a good 3-4 years ago. They talked about the fact that he probably would be younger coming out of Japan than most because his team needed the posting money. They were not a wealthier team in Japan. So he came out with a great reputation, a great arm, and young enough to be here for a long time.
Well, when Nolan was telling us about him before he pitched against us, I mean, Nolan was excited. I mean, he was. You don't see him get excited like that very often. He was excited as there's ball four. So the dreaded leadoff walk for them. Darvish, though, he has, in 161 innings, has 214 strikeouts.
Well, he throws from just about every angle. He has any pitch you want, and he was a lot like years ago the Hall of Famer Juan Marichal in that he threw every one of his pitches exactly where he wanted to throw them. Darvish has exceptional control with everything.
First pitch strike to Adam. Adam has struck out and grounded softly to second. That ball hit deep into center field, but they got a man there. His name is Leonis Martin.
Here's a look at singer, songwriter, occasional actor, Paul Simon.
Boy, how much pleasure over the years have they given us.
Unbelievable musician.
Wow.
Terrific
awesome.
singer, and sporting the Sox cap.
So here's Avisail. He's 1 for 2. High pop up right side. Rios. He's a little upset with himself right there. That ball had a chance to be in our Miller Lite bullpen sports bar.
He got the first ball fastball he was looking for, and he got it out of third, but he got under it.
So here is Keppinger. He's 1 for 2, a double and a run scored. How about Tampa Bay leading the Yankees 7? They give the Yankees absolute fits down when they're playing in St. Pete, and that's where they're playing. 7-2 they're leading.
It's Chris Archer going to the mound for Tampa Bay. He was acquired from the Cubs originally in the Matt Garza deal. Oakland, Baltimore, a huge matchup in Baltimore. The Yankees, Tampa Bay, huge matchup, all with playoff implications. Dodgers, Red Sox later on in LA. So very competitive games tonight in the big leagues.
Well, Oakland was leading 3-0, and Baltimore scored 6 runs to take a 6-3 lead. It is now 7-6 Oakland. Toronto on a deep slide. Houston leading them 8-2. High hopes coming out of spring training for the Blue Jays. Blocked nicely by AJ. Minnesota leading Cleveland 5-1 after 8 at Progressive Field.
How about Kansas City leading that game 6-0? Take a look at it now.
8-6, nasty Nets. Kansas City, they were just flat against us. I mean, you could see it from the first game on. Beltre can pick it with the best of them. We're into the 6th, trailing 7-4. First pitch to Alex Rios. Taken for a strike. Alex is 2 for 2 with 2 runs scored and also a terrific catch in right field. That one at 93 and the count 0-2. There's a 2-hopper.
For $10, you can win or take a chance to win the smart car. All decorated in socks, everything.
That is a nifty looking vehicle. I was telling Jim Angio, had a golf cart bigger than that.
It's true.
That's up high to Baker, who had a 2-run homer in the second. And he bounced back to Sale in the 4th. Breaking ball, no. 2-1. Change up and grabs a strike. Close, just off the inside corner. So Baker, a Ray Knight lookalike. That ball hit deep into right center, but FSAL back on the track. 2 down. Of course, Ray Knight was a former player many years in the major leagues.
And
a good player.
MVP of the 1986 series.
Well, I remember that, unfortunately, that ball that got away from Buckner, and Knight comes around and scores. But Ray was a good player.
Interesting story about him as it pertained to Frank Cashen and how general managers view things. Ray Knight was the MVP of the World Series and came in, and Frank Cashen didn't believe that he had a whole lot of play left. So Ray came in and wanted a 2-year contract. And Frank said, you know, I think we'd like to give you a 1-year contract. He says, well, if you do, I'm going to go somewhere else. Turned out Baltimore. And Frank said, you know, Ray, you've been so good to us. I believe you should do that and get that 2-year contract. And of course, Ray went there, didn't have a whole lot left. But Frank's philosophy from the Baltimore era, where he grew up and learned how to be an executive, was you're rewarding people for something they already did when you don't believe they can still do it. You're not helping your ball club. And as it worked out, unfortunately for Ray, he didn't have a whole lot left. And it gets to be a real cold game because Ray was a very popular player in New York.
Better believe he was. Everywhere he played, he was a gamer. As that has popped up. So that is a nice 1-2-3 inning for Chris, but we trail it 7-4. Is time with our White Sox.
Well, obviously the World Series is number one. I mean, there's no one can ever take that away from that group of guys, and it's a very special group of guys that came together and got along and did special things in a city that hadn't seen it in almost 100 years. So it was, those guys are, friends of mine for life, and those are still some of my best friends on earth, the guys on that team. So. And that's number one.
1-1 to count to Tank leading off here. In the bottom of the 6th. He is 2 for 2 with 2 RBIs and a run scored. High, going foul. And wow, that was close.
It looked like
interference.
It looked like that fan reached into the field of play. Now maybe had Rios been closer, Hunter Wendelstedt would have called it. But he wasn't. Nope. Fan didn't reach in. He just missed it. Got too close to the wall.
And the 1-2 pitch. Well, one of the things that hadn't been talked about enough about that beautiful 05 team was the fact of A.J. and Aaron Rowan. They banded together as a ground ball to Andrus. And that is out number 1. And they brought literally brought Joe Creedy out of his shell. Because Joe was a very quiet, introverted guy, and they brought him out to where Joe started having a lot of fun, and Joe had a hell of a year. I mean, prior to that, Joe would just go in the food room every day, get the newspaper, work his crossword puzzle, sit there, and then go out and take batting practice, play the game, and go shower and go home. Then he started intermingling with the guys because they wouldn't let him stop. They made him. There's that ball into left. And Gentry, he's got good speed.
Because we'll never know what would have happened because injuries have derailed a whole lot of careers. But as good as Joe Creedy was becoming, without the back issues, which for any player, but especially a third baseman, is tantamount to the death knell for your career. He might have been one of the better third basemen around.
He would have been
for a long time.
He would have been one of the going down as one of the better third basemen ever in baseball. And people forget how strong Joe Creedy was.
I was kind of surprised. I mean, obviously you were here with him, but I was surprised how big a guy he was. I didn't realize he was that big and that strong
and that wide. Well, Joe Creedy could hit the ball as far as anybody on the ball club. And what a terrific guy he was. Boy, that was a real tragedy for us and him, of course. 1-1 pitch. Piazza single, struck out and grounded out softly to third. Yeah, those guys had a lot of fun playing. 99 games and went 11-1 in postseason. That is popped up left side. Beltre, and we're into the seventh. First pitch to Adam Rosales, leading off here in the top of the seventh inning. Adam is 1 for 2, a 2-run homer and a sacrifice fly. Not a good swing in there, and the count of 1-1. Seven and 1 for them, 4-8-0 for us. And Baltimore has just come up with 3 runs in the bottom of the seventh to take a 9-7 lead over Oakland. Brian Roberts has homered. Adam Jones has hit number 27. Brandon Moss hit 21 for Oakland, as did Coco Crisp hit his 12th.
What a year for Adam Jones.
Adam Jones is a terrific player. Terrific player.
I mean, I know that Chris Davis has been
grabbed all the ink.
All everything, but Adam Jones with 94 driven in to go with those 27 home runs and the type of defense he plays in center field. What a valuable player he is.
He gone. He knew it.
Tonight's game is available in Spanish on your SAP audio setting and is provided by 97.5 FM ESPN Deportes, Chicago's first and only FM Spanish language sports radio station.
Here is Martin Leonis, 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts and a soft grounder to second. Takes the bunt and takes the strike.
Just shaking his head because that breaking ball came from behind him. He gave up on it. It was right over the middle of the plate.
That hit him. Breaking ball. He'll take it. He'll gladly take it.
And when you get hit on the thigh with a soft breaking ball and you're not seeing the ball at all from a tough left-hander, you'll gladly get on, especially in a 3-run game. And now he'll at least be thinking about trying to steal a base.
Well, he can do that. He's got a few of them this year. He has 27 of them, 35 attempts. Well, he can run and he can throw. And he's hitting 275 coming in. So he's a pretty good player.
Looks like the bullpen is going to start to stir for the first time tonight.
I was talking to some Texas people prior to the game about Leure Garcia. They said, you got yourself a good talent there.
I'm anxious to see him.
There he goes. He's safe.
Good throw by Fegley. He put it right on the money, but Martin just outran it. Gets a good break. Straight steal, never looked back. And leg in just ahead of the tag.
Well, you knew he had it when he went in feet first like that. He knew he had it. Josh has been throwing the ball pretty good. Just unfortunately, they've been getting some good jumps.
Now, he's been accurate and he's been getting the ball away quickly.
2-1 pitch to Andrus. And once again, a reminder, make your plans to be with us tomorrow night. Hector Santiago against Yu Darvish. If you can't make it, that game will be over Comcast Sportsnet, as will the finale on Sunday when Johnny Danks goes against Matt Garza. So 2 out. And a reminder that September 15th, well, that is Strikeout Stroke Day. You can join our Sox in their effort to raise awareness of stroke warning signs and the importance of acting fast. So purchase tickets today by visiting whitesox.com/SOS.
Fresh off his first major league win, Jake Petrichka loosening up in the pen. Talked to Doug Lauman, our scouting director, and he said, what'd you think of him? I said, well, I think he threw 5 pitches, Doug. It's a little early to tell. But they were good 5 pitches, and he got the double play he needed.
And go out in your major league debut, throw 5 pitches, and pick up your first W.
Well, Doug also said, you know, that's a real difficult spot to be inserted in your major league debut. But Robin felt that he could get the job done, and it turned into a 5-pitch, 2/3 of an inning major league win.
Well, I knew last year Robin was going to be a good one when we saw what he did with. As there is a base hit. And there is a real bad throw on a speedster. So Kinsler goes into second, and it's an 8-4 ball game. Man.
Martin is a burner. Your odds of getting him are infinitesimal. So whatever you do, you have to hit the cutoff man. If you don't, the trailer on the play, in this case, Kinsler is going to go into second base into scoring position, which he did.
Beltre takes first pitch strike, walk. But Robin last year showed us all that if you got a White Sox uniform on, you're going to see some action. You're going to play. And if the time comes that he can't put you in there, then you're going to be in Charlotte. Beltre now 27 homers, 79 driven in. Tried to backdoor him and he just missed. So 2-1. It's even.
Dylan Axelrod now throwing in the pen.
Rips that one just foul. That guy right there with talent and entertainment value. And as Steve mentioned earlier, just absolutely terrific in the clubhouse.
They've respected him and loved him wherever he's gone.
Acting skipper Bernie, Mark Parent. Robin was ejected in the third inning. And justifiably so. Outfield bunched just a bit. About equidistant. Kevinger well back and off the line at third. You don't have to give him anything very good with first base open right here. Hard hit, knocks it down, picks it up, and throws him out. But they pick up one, seventh inning stretch. They lead at 8-4.
Baseball.
We got some work to do. We trail it by 4. But we got some guys to get it done. Beckham, Ramirez, Canerco, Dunn, Garcia. And a lot of welcome back A.J. signs. He got a tremendous ovation when he went out behind the plate in the bottom of the first inning. And another one when he came to bat in the second. And deservedly so. Spent 8 years here and gave our fans a lot to cheer for. One and one to count. Beckham has lined hard to left, had an RBI single. And then he hit into a 6-5 fielder's choice, but he picked up his second RBI of the game. Gordon now with 20. 31,891 in the house. As that is high to Rios. And you can join the White Sox Kids Club presented by the University of Chicago Medicine Comer Children's Hospital. And we're teaming up to promote a healthy lifestyle and combat childhood obesity. Members will receive free White Sox tickets and cool exclusive Kids Club items. So visit WhiteSox.com to join the club. And there's some shots of the Gold Coast Ticket Club. Boy, what a place to watch a ball game and eat. The food is delicious. Seth Sharon and everybody with Gold Coast tickets. Alexei has singled, walked, and lined out hard to left field. First of 3 against these guys, first of 6 on this homestand. We'll finish it off Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday against the Astros. Had him off balance.
Jason Frazier, another former member of our Sox, currently of the Rangers, warming up in the pen.
You know, if you look at the Texas record, 21 games over, there's a little chopper going foul. Against the East, they're 13-17. Against the Central, they're 10-13. Against the West, their division, they are 41-16.
I believe they have taken the measure of the Oaklands. Certainly the Houstons.
They're 14-2 against the Astros, 10-2 against the Angels, 8-5 against the A's, 9-7 against Seattle. Watch out. Cleveland has put a hurting on them, though. They're 1-5 against the Tribe. Only 2 losing records they have in the Central are Cleveland and us. And we're just 2-1 against them. Two Hopper. I hope that guy plays for another 5 or 6 years. I love to watch him play.
Well, I'm not sure if you would teach anybody his style of defense, but all he does is catch everything. And then when he does get it, you can't outrun his arm, and he throws it right in the middle of the first baseman.
Well, underneath, like he likes to throw. He can come over the top, but he'd rather go underneath. That's his natural movement. The best 2 underneath throwers in this league are Beltre and Robinson Cano. They have guns from down there.
And one of them is going to be a free agent next year, and that's Robinson Cano.
Here's Paulie. Paulie has lined hard to Beltre, struck out and walked. Takes first pitch strike. These Rangers, fun club to watch, and they're drawing like it too. They're averaging 39,188. Nolan Ryan has resurrected that franchise down there. We were talking about Nolan the other day in Minnesota. Guys were asking me who some of the hardest throwers that I faced. And they said, was Nolan there? I said, yeah, Nolan was definitely one of the hardest, but he was not the hardest. The hardest right-hander, you got to categorize them too. Right-handed, left-handed, starters, relievers. The hardest right-hander that I ever faced was a guy named Jim Maloney.
From Cincinnati.
And his ball moved unbelievably.
Out of Fresno, California. Well, that's one thing that Nolan's didn't. Nolan's fastball was
straight.
Very straight.
Yeah. And Maloney had a great curveball too. But the hardest, of course, was Steve Dalkowski, who never pitched in the big leagues. Couldn't throw strikes, but he by far was the hardest that I ever faced of all of them. That's fair. Backhand. We have completed 7, and we need 4 to tie.
Rangers have made the only error of the game. Ian Kinsler, 1 of 4 home runs, his of the inside the park variety. And Avisail Garcia extends his hitting streak to 10 games with his single in the second. Your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Honda dealers as reliable as the cars themselves. So Dylan Axelrod comes into the game. It's 4.9 ERA, just over 5, on for the 26th time. He was firmly entrenched in the starting rotation. Now working exclusively out of the pen.
Yeah, I was just telling John Walgren, our producer, the other day I had to go up and reintroduce myself to Dylan. In the first 2 months, our 2 unsung heroes were Dylan and Hector Santiago.
Well, he made 18 starts, and then as the rotation got a little stronger and guys got healthier, Dillon lost his spot. And it's hard. When you're a finesse pitcher, and Dillon is, it's very hard to keep your pinpoint control if you're not in there every 5 days. I know AJ ecstatic over seeing Chris Sale leave the game. Chris went 7, 8 runs on 8 hits, a walk and 6 Ks.
AJ, nice catch. Did he get it? No, I think he dropped it. Had it in his hat for a moment, it looked like. There's a base hit by AJ. So he's now 1 for 4. He is glad to see Chris Sale out of there, and he'll be the first one to tell you. Fans you've known for years that StubHub is a great place to find the seats you want to see the White Sox play live, and now they've added StubHub fan rewards so you can earn a little extra with your tickets like seat upgrades. So head to StubHub and get your White Sox tickets today. Here's Alex. He's had a good game. 2 for 3, 2 runs scored, and a beautiful catch robbing Fegley of a base hit. And helping to stop a big inning, because we did score 3 there and it could have been more. There's the strike. Mitch Moreland has come out to hit for Baker. And grabs the strike just on the outside edge of the outside corner.
Moreland plays most of the time, so he's only had a couple of pinch hitting appearances. Decent power year, 17 home runs, 50 driven in.
Count evens at 2. Just got a piece of it. In case you were wondering about that home run that won the ball game for us last night by Connor Gillespie, they never put the circle sign for the home run because they could not see that the ball went out of the park because of the lights on the wall out there, the umpires, and we couldn't see it because of the lights of the wall. And they had ruled it, Beckham said after the game, an inside to Parker. But now the mayor, Mean Joe Group, has checked in on it. They changed it and they ruled it a regular home run.
It did leave the ballpark, and
it did.
Justin Maxwell was the guy who knew it because he never went after the ball as it one-hopped the back wall and came back into field of play. Had he even thought there was a chance that it was in play, Gillespie probably winds up at second base.
As he gets him. So 1 out. And here comes Moreland. Baker was 1 for 3, but it was a big one. After Rios had single with 2 out, nobody on in the second inning, Baker went deep into the right center field bleachers. For his second career homer off Chris Sale. Takes ball one. Moreland hitting at 244, 17 homers, 50 knocked in. Strong man. Bottom of the eighth in Baltimore, still 9-7 Orioles over Oakland. Cubs leading San Diego 6-0. That game in the top of the first out at Petco. Tampa Bay has defeated the Yankees 7-2. Archer over Kuroda. Rockies beat the Marlins 3-2 down in Florida. That pitch is fouled back. Phillies beat the D-backs. D-backs sliding. Phillies beat them 4-3 at Citizens Bank Ballpark. No score. Pittsburgh at San Francisco. Top of the second.
Arizona picking a real bad time to go into any kind of slump. Losers of 3 in a row, while the Dodgers have won 3 in a row, and they find themselves 10 games back.
That ball is smoked. And out of here. Just a vicious line drive for a 2-run homer, and it's a 10-4 Texas lead.
Fifth home run of the night. 18th for Moreland. He's now driven in 52. Up out over the plate and gone.
That'll bring up the left fielder, Craig Gentry, who is 1 for 2 with a run scored. Houston thumping the Blue Jays 12-2, bottom of the seventh, down at the juice box. St. Louis leading Atlanta 3-1, bottom of the eighth in St. Louis. Final from Citi Field. Tigers beat the Mets 6-1. Our 6-game winning streak is in jeopardy. Murphy has come out on deck to hit for Rosales.
Leury, Garcia. Gonna probably see some action here this evening.
And there is ball 4. So here's Murphy.
Murphy's been a terrific pinch hitter for them. 4 for 6 this year. Oh, this one doesn't hold a great deal of drama for him. Those are pretty big numbers off the bench. Texas has 23 pinch hits this year. We have 8.
Takes first pitch ball. Outfield about equidistant, slightly to the left. Murphy put a good pass on it underneath it. He's hitting at 222, 12 homers, 40 knocked in. That's a pretty strong 222.
Well, he'll play against most of the right-handers and give them pretty tough at-bats. Rangers now have hit 145 home runs this year.
And if you're just tuning in, 5 of those coming tonight. Takes the strike. So a full count.
David Percy loosening up in the pen.
There he goes, and that pitch is popped up. 2 down.
Yes, indeed. It is Elvis night.
Leonis Martin. He's 0 for 3. He was hit by a pitch, picked up a stolen base, and then he scored on the base hit by a soft single to center up by Kinsler. And the civil rights game tomorrow, so make your plans to be with us. That's a 6:10 start. Special awards to Aretha Franklin and Bo Jackson. That's a fair ball. And that'll retire the side. But the 2-run homer. And we trail it 10-4. Southwest Indiana Chevy dealers for their support of local youth baseball leagues. Local Chevy dealers are supporting over 30,000 young ball players in their communities through the Chevy Youth Baseball Program. And since 2010, Chevy dealers have been providing numerous leagues with equipment kits, instructional clinics, and much needed financial support. So from the big leagues to the youth league, Chevy is truly the official vehicle of baseball.
Robbie Ross comes into the game, and he's been a good one out of the pen. Mitch Moreland has taken over after coming on to hit the home run to play first base. ERA 2.82, and this is his 53rd game. Robbie Ross has got good stuff.
He has it against us. Ten and 1 for them, 4-8-0 for us. High left side. So 1 out. If you're just tuning in, they scored 4 in the second. 2 2-run homers, 1 by Baker and 1 by Rosales. We came right back with 3 in the bottom of the second, and then the disputed call, they got Robbins ejected. That was in the top of the third. The ball got hung up underneath the mat lining on the wall in left field. Viciato could not find it, but he tried to find it. And as Steve explained to you, that therein was the reason they allowed it to be a live ball. And here is Leury is going to get a base hit in his first at bat in a Sox uniform. Congratulations.
Here's our AT&T Uverse replay, and it's the beginning of the career of Leury Garcia. The bat shatters, and he eases it on into right field. Find out what's possible with products and services from AT&T. Rethink possible.
Well, talking to Tom Grieve and Steve Busby, the 2 television announcers, they said, hey, this guy is not a Punch and Judy. He is stronger than you think. And there's a Moreland bobbles it now. He'll just take the out at first. But in the clubhouse today, Leury was getting dressed. He has a physique. He has a build. He's cut.
He's also just 22, so he's got some growing to do. His former teammates probably talking to him about
spend some meal money.
And how he looks a little different in that uniform than the one he's worn in the big leagues before.
Yeah. AJ said he's a great kid. Great speed, great arm, great kid. Said the only thing he needs to do is just cut down on his swing a little bit. So here's Tank. He's 2 for 3, 2 RBIs, and a run scored. Takes ball 1. Vic Hahn made 2 big pickups, in my opinion. And that's, look at Beltre underneath. And here comes Garcia, but that's out number 3. We'll go to the 9th. Trailing big.
first hit as a member of the White Sox. Leury Garcia stays in at second base.
So here's Andrus. Elvis is 0 for 4 tonight. Rangers trying to pick up their 9th straight road victory. Andrus.
And Tank couldn't see it.
No, he lost it in the lights. Hard to catch it when you can't see it.
Comes over, and I think Bob Rosenberg charged E7. Nope,
No,
gave
that's
him a
not
double.
an error there. Right.
Well, he just, I mean, he came over. It looked like he was going to make the play, and all of a sudden the ball never got above the lights, and he just had to give way.
Well, you saw the look on his face.
Yep.
One of extreme concern. That's one you don't have to worry about there, Tank. Kinsler's 2 for 4, a homer. That inside to Parker. And Clevenger will hold and throw him out.
Back in the 5th inning with 2 outs. Our 4th drive of the game is a towering home run off the bat of Adrian Beltre. His 27th. And 1 of 5 the Rangers have hit tonight.
He's 34 years old, and he's got one of the greatest top hands in the American League. And when I say top hand, that is with the bat. That top hand is what really generates bat speed.
Well, he's got that and plenty of that to spare.
Yeah. Yep. But again, you mentioned earlier when we talked to him, I mentioned the only downtime was out at Seattle, and that park was that time the toughest in the American League to hit in for home runs. He's just coming off a couple big years with the Dodgers, one especially. And that was the only time I've seen him when more or less he was just leading with the left. And the longer that left goes forward, the slower the bat gets. And he did have a little sore. Now he can turn a 30-30 around right now.
Well, coming up with the Dodgers, he got very sick, had stomach surgery, lost a lot of weight, lost a lot of strength. They weren't sure exactly what was going to happen with him, but he was able to battle his way back. The skills were obvious. The question was, would he get over that surgery and all the complications that went with it, because it was fairly serious at the time? Well, obviously the answer is that and then some.
Long peg takes him off the bag. So they're going to give him a base hit.
Mark Parent takes a long, slow walk out. He's going to go to the pen. So that will be it for Dylan Axelrod. David Percy will come in. We'll step out and be back after these messages. on for the 16th time. The only problem has been getting the ball over the plate, but amazingly enough, he does not give up many runs, despite a walk per inning pitched.
So here's AJ. He's 1 for 4 with a run scored. And Baltimore has defeated Oakland 9-7. So the Rangers with a win here would go 3.5 up on the A's. Runners at the corners, 1 out. AJ trying to pick up his 53rd RBI. Looking for it, got it, and couldn't do anything with it. Could not check it up in the count 0-2. Outfield straight up, about equidistant. That's poked out into left field. Tank is there. He'll get it back in, so the sacrifice fly, and it's 11-4. If you're just tuning in, Chris Sale went 7 tonight, giving up 8 runs. 4 home runs, 8 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. And we touched on it earlier in the game. You know, AJ had to be talking to these hitters on how to go about getting Sale.
Not an easy thing to do, but
it's one thing to talk about, it's another thing to execute off Chris.
They picked on some fastballs early in the count.
They beat him, right.
And they knew they weren't going to hit the sliders, and they picked on fastballs.
Basically, I guarantee that's what AJ told him. So you got to beat him on his fastball. When you get a guy out there like Chris Sale who's got as good as stuff, you're better off making a commitment, one or the other, to have that plan. Like, I'm going to beat him on his breaking stuff, or I'm going to beat him on his fastball. And with Chris, you better have it fastball.
Well, that's what happened. I mean, that's what Baker hit out of the park, first ball fastball. Rosales hit a high fastball out of the park. Kinsler, well, that wasn't out of the park.
Check swing to Rios. He is now 2 for 5 with a couple of runs scored and a super catch. Meanwhile, we go to the bottom of the ninth, trailing by 7.
fastballs and leaving the park. Jeff Baker does it, a 2-run homer, and Adam Rosales follows up with a 2-run homer. Those 4 were never headed, although the Sox did get close at 4-3. The Rangers put it away. So Ross Wolf comes into the game at 1-3, the ERA 3.80, on for the 20th time.
So here's Josh. Josh has swung the bat well tonight. Only 1 for 3, but he was robbed of a base hit on a beautiful play by Rios. He hit a bullet for a base hit in the left. Then he went out to left. Breaking ball strike. Just missed that one. So 1 out. And you can catch the rest of the season in stunning HD quality. MLB.TV Premium includes a free subscription to At Bat 13. You can watch every out-of-market game live on more than 350 mobile and connected devices. Other features include choice of home and away broadcast, alternate audio options, live game DVR functionality, clickable line scores, and multi-game viewing options. So visit MLB.TV to order and get more details. MLB.TV, baseball everywhere. Chops that foul. And if you're scoring along with us, they gave Beltre a hit on that ball he hit down to Keppinger. They have now changed that to an error. And it makes it an unearned run. Alejandro picks up his second hit. He's 2 for 5.
Whole lot of folks around tonight. Just under 32,000 haven't enjoyed the score. They've enjoyed just about everything else. Very entertaining at the ballpark and just beautiful weather.
Yeah, the atmosphere was super all evening.
Very nice.
Just terrific. Jordan hits that deep into left field. Stretch. It's off the wall. So here comes Diaz. He's going to score on the double by Danks. And boy, let's get a couple here and get a little mo going for tomorrow.
Jordan Diggs drives in his 4th run of the year. On that, his 3rd double of the year.
So here's Alexei. Tell you, the last few games, Jordan's been absolutely squaring some of them up.
When he gets a fastball that's thigh high or below, he hits it hard.
Right.
He hits it hard.
Yeah, he's got, especially with 2 strikes, he has that tendency, which he's young yet. But he got to learn how to lay off a high fastball up out of the zone with 2 strikes.
This is some of the things that I get a chance to see when I go through my skydiving. And that's exactly what happened before the game.
Oh, man.
They came in. They spun around a bit. They tried to line it up in center field.
I'd be lucky to hit the city limits.
Oh, I'd hit it, but I'd hit many parts of it.
Boing, boing, boing.
Wowee. Yeah, that'd be something that I hope never to participate in. Certainly wouldn't be voluntary.
Crawley hits it hard and deep to center field. Stretch. Stretch. It won't. Martin is there, and this ball game is over. So we pick up one. They win the opener here 11-5, and we'll be back.